The action.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
On the 7. Curry from the hash mark. 3! Oh, it's something else. He's got 24.
All right, find a way to get the job done. That's what the Warriors did. Rotation questions galore. And, wow, what a night in the NFL again. Feels like deja vu as we welcome you in here. Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader as the Bears come from behind and beat the Green Bay Packers. The Warriors do what they couldn't do a couple of nights ago in Phoenix, which is hold off the Suns down the stretch and prevail inside Chase Center. And we welcome you in here on a wild Saturday night after a wild Thursday night of NFL action. Of course, we were doing the same thing on Thursday night with the Seahawks and the Rams, and the game completely flips. So the Warriors game, which one's going to end first? And we wind up with a little bit of a delayed start here on Dubs OT. As we come to you from Harmonic in Thrive City here on the Sports Leader, Warriors do get the victory in the game played behind me here. They find a way to get the job done. Final score, 119 to 116 as the Warriors prevail in this one. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation. Appreciate everybody filing in on YouTube and Twitch, and we'll get to the game here coming up in just a moment. But we also want to send a big thanks to the folks here at Harmonic Brewing, because Thrive City and Harmonic here is part of the citywide power outage. So as we begin the show amid the chaos of the NFL ending and another wild Warriors game against Phoenix, we should let everybody know we're doing this show without power tonight. We're doing this show with battery packs and cell phones and no Wi-Fi and hell, no lights. We got a couple battery-powered lights here at Harmonic. Big thanks to Eddie, the owner. We got a little battery-powered lamp here. So bear with us tonight. Bear with us tonight here on Dubs OT. Hopefully the tech will hang in tonight, because there wasn't a way that we weren't going to do a show, and they're pouring here at Harmonic on a rainy Saturday night with power but damned. Set up some temporary lighting and pour some beers, and that's exactly what they're doing here at Harmonic in Thrive City on a night where the Warriors get themselves a win and another wild NFL night in the NFC for the second time in 3. So 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 as the Warriors get the win here. A lot of thoughts on this one. My goodness. I mean, first and foremost, nothing ever going to be easy for the Golden State Warriors. It's just not. They're just not good enough for it to be easy. And fortunately for them, they found their defense enough, at least in the middle 2 quarters, to be able to prevail in this game. They allow the Suns to score 43 in the middle 2 quarters, and the Warriors win this game basically in the middle 2 quarters as they outscore Phoenix over that span 61 to 43, and that proved to just be enough in this one to allow the Warriors to prevail. But man, just when it looks like the Warriors a little comfortable and a bit of separation, are they going to win the game by 7 to 10 points? Phoenix starts making everything in sight. You're wondering if the Warriors are going to get the ball inbounded. We've seen that come back and bite them in the rear end at different points this year. But it just goes to show this team, nothing easy for Golden State, regardless, in this 2025-26 season. But nevertheless, a game that I think the Warriors absolutely had to have. It felt like the whole season, honestly, teetering on the brink of even more tumultuous beings than we've seen to this point. And the first quarter was ugly. My goodness, defensively. And so often you see this with teams that are just mediocre or bad teams. The nights that they score points, they can't defend. And the nights they can defend well, they can't score. And you're thinking, is this going to be one of those nights for the Warriors where the offense is there and then they can't get enough stops and the defense is going to be bad? And we saw it just a couple of nights ago in Phoenix. The Warriors play an excellent defensive game, but then they can't get the offense rolling and they wind up with a big Jimmy Butler game, but not enough over the course of the night to be able to get a win down in the Valley. And tonight you're thinking into the first quarter, is it going to be exactly the opposite with the Suns out to a 70.8% shooting advantage into the quarter, 44-32 Phoenix at the end of quarter number one. And then all hell kind of breaks loose in the early part of the second quarter. Draymond Green ejected within the first 2 minutes of the quarter, picked up a couple of technicals and got thrown out of the game in part, going at it with the interaction against Colin Gillespie, and then Pat Frayer, the official, runs him shortly thereafter. And a big story of this game for Golden State, they were down 10 at the moment in which Draymond got ejected. And there was a point in the fourth quarter where the Warriors had outscored the Suns 65-44 in the time in which Draymond Green had gotten himself kicked out of the game, and that gap, that disparity had came closer as the Suns made their rally in the fourth quarter there to make it a close game and have a shot to win it in the final minute and final seconds. But the Warriors for one night played better without Draymond Green, and Draymond has really had a difficult time the first couple of games coming back. Turnover issues. I've said it. I don't think he really plays well at the 4 anymore. I think he almost has to play a 5, and we've gotten into the number of issues that creates from a roster standpoint. If he has to play the 5, and then who has to play the 4, and then you're playing smaller lineups, and that hurts you in other areas. Bottom line, Draymond getting kicked out seemingly sparked the Warriors tonight, and they came in locked and loaded for Dylan Brooks, given the ending of the game on Thursday night. I thought there was a lot of fight, but Brooks was taking it to him. Booker was taking it to the Warriors. And look, I'm not going to say the Warriors are a better basketball team without Draymond Green. It'd be moronic, idiotic to say that in the grand scheme of things. And I think the Warriors' best basketball ahead is with Draymond Green, and they have to figure out how to build the roster around Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. But for one night tonight, and it's not the first night even in December, the Warriors were better for not having Draymond Green on the floor and not having somebody who, when he's not playing well, can be, frankly, an offensive liability. I think the defense has been better than many have given him credit for, but Draymond, when he's struggling, his bad is extremely bad right now. And so once it gets to that point, if it's not going to be a night where he plays well, maybe there are a few more nights individually where it might be better to keep Draymond off the court. The issue with that is you really don't know when those nights are going to be. And so it's not like you move him to the bench or you say you're just done with Draymond and make the grandiose statement that this team at this point is better without him. So that being said, though, the Warriors handled the glass in this game tonight. Big time advantage for the Warriors, 49-34 on the boards for Golden State overall in this game. And look, Draymond was a -6, and they ended up winning the game by 3. So it wound up being a 9-point advantage with Draymond not in the game. And that's a part of the story for the Warriors in this one as they rallied in the second quarter. Let me tell you a huge sequence in this game. And I know, Gillespie missed the wide open 3. I mean, the Suns are banking 3s in. Then he hit a much more difficult one after. Will Richards, the player of the game tonight. We wanted to get to Draymond and the ejection and the impact that had, at least on tonight's game. But Will Richard was the player of the game for the Warriors. Will Richard might have won the Warriors this game tonight before halftime. And you say, well, why, JD? Did Will Richard win him the game maybe before halftime? Well, remember the sequence right before the half. Warriors are down 7 after they had come back, cut the lead down to 4 when Draymond had been ejected. Suns push it back up to 7. DeAnthony Melton gets fouled on a 3 at the end of the half. There's, 0.4 of a second to go in the half. Hits the first 2 free throws. Heads up play by Melton. Foolish foul in that situation to close the half. Melton hits the first 2 free throws, misses the third one, and Will Richard gets the rebound and pushes the ball back up in 0.4 of a second. It's got to be bang, bang, and hits the shot to cut the Suns' lead from 7 with the 2 free throws plus the shot down to 3. So a quick 4-point swing there in a game that the Warriors end up winning 119-116 by 3 points. That foul, horrific foul. And you look at the ability for Melton to draw it and the ability off the lucky missed free throw. It winds up being lucky when Will Richard's able to get the ball and he puts it back in. Richard back in the rotation. Buddy Hield tonight. Those who've been calling for less Buddy Hield or no Buddy Hield, Buddy Hield was a DNP coach's decision tonight, as Steve Kerr wound up playing, 13 players in this game of the 14 available and active. Buddy Hield was the lone member of the Warriors who did not play due to a coach's decision. And so you look at it, and Will Richard got the Buddy Hield minutes tonight, and Will Richard needs to freaking play. End of story, no argument. I said it during the game on social media. I do think that there's some internal things going on in the Warriors locker room right now with politics and roster composition and looming trade deadline and veteran players maybe wanting other veteran players to be given a first shot over some of the younger guys. The Kuminga thing has been its whole thing, and Kuminga didn't play tonight due to illness. But Will Richard has to play. Among the players for the Warriors that had found themselves falling out of the rotation, Will Richard was the one that was the hardest to explain, in my opinion, because he had done nothing but just play well when giving opportunities. His playing time fluctuating at the level that it did was the one player that it made the least sense for that to be the case. Steve Kerr has to own that. And I'm sure Steve Kerr in the building that sits behind me right now is saying that Will Richard is going to play and Will Richard's going to be in the rotation and they need Will Richard and all of that. But you know what? We've heard him say that in years past about Moses Moody and then not do it. And we've heard him in years past say it about Jonathan Kuminga in the times where Jonathan Kuminga has played well and then not do it. Steve Kerr's got to do it. He's got to stick with it. Steve Kerr gets the blame on a night where Will coming in and playing as well as he did makes Steve Kerr look really bad. Will Richard was fantastic for the Warriors tonight. He scored 20 points, 4 of 4 from three-point range. He was the third scorer on a night where Steph had to get 28 and Jimmy Butler had to get 25. Who was going to be the third guy? We're always asking ourselves who the third guy is going to be. And tonight it was Will Richard. You never know or can count on it being someone specific on a night in, night out basis. But tonight it was Richard. And look, Richard's floor is high enough to where I think he can play every night, and the bad nights are not going to kill you to a point where you don't want him to be on the floor at all, which is very different from a Jonathan Kuminga, for example. Kuminga's bad nights, you're like, get this guy off the floor. I think Moses Moody's nights where he isn't as good are more like Will Richard's in that vein, where it feels like on nights where he doesn't hit shots or play well, it doesn't kill you as much as, again, maybe somebody else. Podziemski's nights when he doesn't hit shots, it feels like, oh my God, he's really killing them on the court. He's more in the Kuminga group, I think, than maybe a Moody or a Richard. There is absolutely zero excuse for Will Richard to not be an every night part of the Golden State Warriors rotation moving forward. And we talked about it today on Just Dubs. We've talked about it the last week and a half. the Warriors have to figure out ways to win games between now and the trade deadline, but they also have to figure out who the keepers are. Here's the other thing I'm going to say about Will Richard. Will Richard is a keeper. Will Richard is a keeper for this team this season. I've seen enough on that. He can play, I think, in any lineup combination with any other group. Will Richard's got to be on the court. Point blank, got to be on the court. And look, we quibble about middling players and players of a similar talent level and what they bring to the table and whether or not Steve Kerr knows what he's going to get, to what extent on a night-in, night-out basis, and it makes it difficult to cobble together a rotation. But the reality is Will Richard isn't going to be he's somebody that you want on this team now. You want him playing now. And maybe it won't be Buddy Hield every night. Maybe it'll be Moses Moody another night. Maybe it'll be Kuminga another night. But Will Richard's got to see the floor at this point. And it makes Steve Kerr look really bad that really for no reason he found his way out of the rotation other than politics. And Steve said, hey, I'm giving the vets a shot. It was a very awkward, bizarre, strange answer that Kerr gave when he was asked specifically about Richard being out of the rotation. He needs to play over GP2 most nights. Like, important that he be out there. So Will Richard, player of the game for the Warriors tonight. I thought second consecutive game where the Warriors get a aggressive Jimmy Butler performance. Mentioned it on Just Dubs this morning, and if you missed it, you can check out the podcast of that wherever you get your podcasts, or go back and watch it at the KNBR YouTube page, Just Dubs with JD. That the leadership for this Warriors team was going to have to be on Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. Now, Draymond didn't provide it by getting kicked out tonight, but basically they need Steph and Jimmy to look to carry the load. And whoever comes along for the ride is the third or the fourth or the fifth. You take that as it comes, and tonight it was Will Richard, but the tone has to be set by Steph and by Jimmy and Draymond, although we'll keep him out of it because he did not do that tonight. But I thought Steph did it tonight. I thought Jimmy did it tonight. And it can't be a one-off. You know, Jimmy did it the other night in Phoenix. He's got to continue to do it every night for this Warriors team to win games in the short term. Because let's be honest, the end of the game and the Warriors' inability to put the game away and the Suns constantly coming back and Phoenix getting off to the 44-point first quarter, all of that is because the Warriors just flat out aren't that good. But just because they aren't that good doesn't mean they can't figure out a way to get some wins between now and the end of December and between now and the trade deadline when they can look to really turbocharge this roster. And Jimmy and Draymond, or Jimmy and Steph rather, get the credit for that tonight. And as the chat is talking about, Will Richard's earned the right to continue to play, but is Will Richard going to score 20 points for you every night? No, he's not. But the question is it going to be 2 points in the next Warriors game on Monday night against Orlando, or can it be 8 to 12? That, I think, even the Warriors would take at this point. Like, they have to have somebody. Maybe it'll be Moody that'll hit shots. Again, I'm less concerned about who the specific third, fourth, fifth player is going to be, because I think we've seen over time that the Warriors don't have consistent options that can be counted on every single night. But the one thing that they need to be able to count on every single night is Steph and Jimmy and Draymond setting that tone. So big time nod to Steph tonight as you look up at the end of the night, and Steph winds up with 28 points, plus 13, game best on the Warriors side of things, plus 13. And he did it along with Jimmy, who scored 25. You know, that's a much more normal looking type of a box score where your number one and your number two guys get it done. And then you kind of figure it out, you know, from that point moving forward. All right, 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Dubs OT with JD. We're off and rolling a little bit late and we're duct taped together tonight by cell phones and data connections and battery-operated lamps because of the power outage in the city and here at Harmonic and Thrive City. But it is a spirited crowd with the lamps out here at Harmonic. Warriors get a win to improve to 14-15 on the season. They pulled it within a game of 500. Let's get it rolling here in the YouTube chat. 808 KMBR, Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line is open as well. We'll get to the calls here coming up in a moment, but let's get to our first installment here to close out the 8 o'clock hour of Kyle's Clicks. Robert Brown, until they go on an extended winning streak, my thoughts won't change much. I don't disagree with that. And I'm not sure that this team is capable, as they currently are laid out, to get on a big winning streak. Maybe that changes the conversation if they are able to, but I'm inclined to agree with Robert 100% on that. The reality is, though, every win is extremely important right now. Every win is extremely important right now for this Warriors team to be able to try and save the season to a point where it matters moving forward, the trades that they are going to attempt to make here from January 15th to February 5th. But, yeah, we'll see. Can they go 5-1 with tonight being 1-0 between now and the start of 2026? Can they get on a more extended 15-3 type of a heater, or can they get a 12-6 run even over the next 18, where they're going to play a ton of home games coming out to begin January? What we've seen to this point would say no, they can't, but we're gonna have to see what they can do with the roster that they have, because they can't make any trades basically until the end of that stretch of the schedule to begin with. Good tip-off comment here in the YouTube chat from our buddy Robert Brown here out at Harmonic. All right, let's get to Juju Bug 34. Wouldn't attach the success of this game to Dre getting ejected. In my opinion, it was Buddy sitting and Pat and Will getting serious floor time. Yeah, Pat Spencer played 10 minutes tonight and was 1 for 4. I don't think Pat Spencer really impacted the game all that much when he was out there, but it's like we talked about in the midst of Pat's sanity. It was, can he be a 12 to 18 minute a game backup point guard type? And so he came in and filled his role, and the Warriors went on to the players that were playing better on this night. I do think Draymond, though, tonight getting ejected, one night only evaluation, it made a difference. It did. I think the Warriors rallied around the fact that Draymond wasn't on the court tonight. I think there are nights where Draymond, when he doesn't have it, he can be a detriment to this Warriors team. That's not a crazy statement. Again, where I push back is that it's much more night to night than absolute as to, Draymond's washed, Draymond stinks, Draymond's got to go. I don't agree with that at all. There's some nuance to it. Now, there are some individual nights where if he's not playing well, maybe you need to tap somebody else on the shoulder and put him in the game, but that's incredibly difficult to do given the track record that he has with Steph and obviously is one of the core leaders of this team from the championship days. But tonight it made an impact. Tonight it did. Because Draymond was hell-bent on mixing it up with Dillon Brooks tonight. Hell, I thought everybody on the Warriors was hell-bent on mixing it up with Dillon Brooks tonight. And so sometimes that edge can be a little too much if it's not manifesting itself into quality basketball. Zerkerex, Green got ejected and the Dubs played good basketball. That's just a fact. That's an undeniable fact. It doesn't mean Draymond needs to come off the bench Monday night. It doesn't mean Draymond should get traded. It just means tonight the Warriors were better off when Draymond Green wasn't on the court. Doesn't mean it'll be wasn't the first time in his tenure as a Warrior that's the case, and it probably won't be the last time. But I still think the Warriors having Draymond Green on the team and a big part of the equation, especially in the games that matter, is more important than anything we see over a small sample size in the regular season. Let's keep it moving. here in the YouTube chat, Rebel to Sounds, those no calls on that last Curry layup should confirm that the refs have been told not to blow the whistle when Curry gets fouled. Yeah, that was brutal. They were trying to foul him. I mean, Dylan Brooks was mad that they didn't call a foul before Curry went up and got the layup. And how many people were holding their breath? How many people honestly were holding their breath when Pods was holding it? Who's going to spring free? I mean, it looked like nobody was open, and then they end up getting the ball to Steph Curry, and you're thinking, my God, at least they got the ball to Steph Curry. But he's got to make a move. I mean, it was like, can they inbound the ball all over again? I mean, it was a nightmare. It was all the worst nightmares of going back to games that the Warriors literally had thrown away in Philadelphia and nearly threw away in Cleveland. I mean, my goodness. But yeah, those were definitely fouls that should have been called. It all worked out for the Warriors. Although, again, if they get an and one there, maybe they're not sweating out a final possession up 4 where the Suns don't have a shot to hit a wild 3 and force overtime. And the Suns were in the hitting wild 3 business after the Warriors took control of the game down the stretch there in the fourth quarter. A couple of more here. San Jose Jazz fan 8, Kerr needs to ask Dre before the game, does this game matter to you tonight? Well, that's the thing. I thought tonight it did matter to Draymond because of the Dylan Brooks component. But, again, that doesn't always manifest itself in quality play. So I think Draymond is finding himself more and more in that category like a lot of the Warriors role players where you're worried about, does he have it, does he not have it on a night-in, night-out basis. And that's a real uncomfortable position to have the Warriors be in. But, alas, it's the position that the Warriors are in, and it's just the reality. It's just the reality at this particular point in time. All right, let's take a timeout. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. We'll come back. We'll get more in the YouTube chat. We'll get to some phone calls. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line is open. Dubs OT off and running. A little bit late, but we're locked and loaded right here on the Sports Theater.
Live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at knbr.com and on the KNBR app.
Podziemski denying Gillespie the ball. Now Draymond's there to take care of that. Beautiful. Brandon and Draymond combined wonderfully on that. Curry trails three. Got it. And one. So Steph is fouled as he hits the three. Is that 4 for 4? He's got 10 and a free throw coming. You got a technical on Draymond and he's been thrown out of the game. Oh. Now, what's he's upset about is good one cracked into Steph after missing the shot. This is from the other night in Phoenix where Dillon Brooks hit Steph in the stomach for no reason.
Yeah, there was a lot going on tonight after the play, some borderline dirty stuff, which always follows Dillon Brooks around. And, wow, Steve Kerr fired up tonight in the postgame press conference regarding Draymond Green's ejection. You're not going to want to miss that coming up here in Sounds of Dubs OT as we welcome you back to Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader from Harmonic in Thrive City, open and thriving despite the power outage. It's the only spot open here in the plaza after the game. So cheers to Eddie. Cheers to Mike. I mean, really making stuff happen here tonight. We are duct taped together again on cell data and desire to get this program on the air and on YouTube and Twitch as well here as we do after just about every Warriors game here on the Sports Leader. But a big shout out to Eddie and Mike tonight who they got the lamps going. It's beautiful mood setting here and they're pouring and having a good time. And it is a spirited crowd off a big Warriors win 119-116 as they get the job done over the Phoenix Suns. You are not going to want to miss what Steve Kerr had to say post-game about the Draymond Green ejection and off of a couple of games where Dillon Brooks has been throwing his body around and coming up with a lot of the normal Dillon Brooks-ish that you can deal with, which toes the line and borders on, I mean, just completely Bush League, which we saw at the end. I mean, the play at the end of the game the other night where he basically took a free swing at Steph with Steph in the air. We talked about it on Thursday. I mean, that is a chicken bleep, gutless, I mean, really move on the part of Dillon Brooks. But again, we've seen that from Dillon Brooks throughout his entire NBA career. And again, the antics were back and in full force tonight as it related to Dillon Brooks. And again, it's not so much as estimated eyes in the chat, oh, God, Kerr going to stand for Dre. It's not so much standing for Dre. Again, we'll play the clip. In fact, you know what, Kyle? Can we play the clip right now? Let's play the clip right now, then we'll get to Adam, and then we'll get back into the chat. Can we play it right now? Yeah, let's play it right now, because I don't think, from my view of this during the break, I don't think this is standing for Draymond as much as it is being pissed off about Dillon Brooks and some of the stuff that was going against Steph Curry. I may be wrong, estimated, because I haven't heard the full clip, but let's play it right now. We're gonna get a little early edition of Sounds of Dubs OT.
I thought it was weak. I mean, he was yelling at the refs, so he definitely deserved one. But then, he's walking to the bench and he yells something, and the second technical. I mean, we just saw a guy on their team literally punch Steph in the stomach and the other night, and premeditated, punches him in the stomach, no ejection for that. And then, 2 nights later, the refs got upset with, some words from Draymond. I totally disagreed. And that's why I got my check, because I was furious that they booted him out just like that so easily.
Well, and there was more to that cut, Kyle, as well. Maybe we need to play the Austin Scott version of that cut because there was a little bit more to it. So let me know, Kyle, if we can, that was even spicier than that. With Kerr talking about Dillon Brooks specifically. So, yeah, maybe a little taken up for Draymond, but I think it's more And look, Draymond earned the ejection. I'm not going to take up for Draymond. Steve can if he wants. I'm not going to take up for Draymond. It was the initial play, and then it was a secondary argument. So it was two separate things. But hey, Kerr's going to fight for his guy. All right, here we go. Let's play the full version. Some of this is going to be repeat, but this from our guy in the press conference, Austin Scott, and the KNBR digital team, best in the business. Here's a little bit more of Kerr.
Think of the Draymond ejection and how'd you?
I thought it was weak. I mean, he was yelling at the refs, so he definitely deserved one. But then, he's walking to the bench and he yells something, and the second technical. I mean, we just saw a guy on their team literally punch Steph in the stomach and the other night, and premeditated, punches him in the stomach, no ejection for that. And then, 2 nights later, the refs got upset with, some words from Draymond. I totally disagreed. And that's why I got my check, because I was furious that they booted him out just like that so easily.
I mean, you mentioned it within there. How upset were you guys the other night with that Brooks foul?
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be upset? I mean, this is a guy who broke Gary's elbow in the playoffs, clotheslining him with one of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen. So it's not like there's not a track record there. And it's right there. They look at it. I don't know what the point of replay is if you're not going to kick a guy out for literally punching somebody. It's bizarre to me that he was not, first of all, ejected from that game and then suspended or fined. Nothing. So apparently, you are now allowed, this is my take, you are now allowed to premeditate a punch of any shooter who's left, like defenseless. You can now take a swing at him and know you're just going to get a flagrant one. So I don't know, maybe we'll do that.
Maybe we'll do that. That was the spot. So forget about the Draymond stuff. It was more the second half of that. Maybe we should do that. And again, you can say, hey, the stomach or whatever. The problem isn't where Steph got hit. The problem is Steph was defenseless. That's where I have an issue with that play from Brooks. And Brooks has a track record. Steve went in on Brooks. That's the headline. The headline isn't Steve had Draymond's back, Kyle Haar. The headline here is Steve Kerr went in on Dylan Brooks. And that is, and that was, I mean, you could tell Steve was ticked off. That was edgy, spicy Steve.
So probably not.
Maybe we'll do that. Probably not. Yeah, that was a thing. That was definitely a thing. All right, 808 KNBR. Wanted to make sure we got that to you quick, fast, and in a hurry here on Dubs OT with JD here on the leader. Let's get to the phones. We'll have more on our Sounds of Dubs OT. We'll probably re-rack that and play it again coming up here at the bottom of the hour. But let's get to the phones, and it's Adam in San Jose patiently waiting here on a Saturday night. What's going on, Adam?
What's up, JD? The NBA's got to do something about Dylan Brooks because it's getting out of hand, and he realizes that nothing's happening to him, so he continues to do it. They need to start off with a fine and then lead into suspensions and things like that because it's going to get real bad soon. My next point is on Draymond Green. He got away with one tonight because had we lost this game, Kerr and Steph would have been at the podium telling the media how he cannot have crash outs like that because it causes us the game and just same old story as before. He knows that we need him out there in order to win games. And although he hasn't been as effective this year besides that San Antonio game, he cannot afford to make mistakes like this. And once again, tonight, he needed to be better and not get ejected from the game. And then on the last note, Jonathan Kuminga, I highly doubt he was actually ill. I think that it was a DMP, but Kerr didn't want the media to get involved, so he listed it as an illness. Thank you.
Appreciate the call. I don't know if that's the case. We'll go last thing first. I don't know if that's the case or not with Kuminga. I'm going to say Kuminga's ill. I don't want to quibble about that necessarily, but the reality is, whether he is or he isn't, Jonathan Kuminga probably shouldn't be playing if you look at the way that he played on Thursday night. And again, whether it's Will Richard or others, again, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. There was the injury as well after he had, been taken out of the rotation. Tonight's not about Jonathan Kuminga. So I don't want to, let's set that aside. But we also know Jonathan Kuminga is not part of the solution for this Warriors team. Draymond needs to not get kicked out of games. But at the same time, I don't think tonight is one of those nights where the Warriors would have been up at the podium saying Draymond needs to know better. Draymond needs to not get kicked out, in part because they were better without him tonight. So I think this was a little bit different, I think, than some of the other times where Draymond has gotten himself run from games, and it's been to the detriment of this Warriors team. So I don't think we would have heard that tonight had the Warriors lost the game. If they lose the game, it would have been, their inability to finish again. Their inability to get stops, their inability to hit, some dagger shots, all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, San Jose Jazz fan 8. Kuminga is sick. Sick of Kerr. Yeah. And again, at this point, I'm just going to stop. It's all been said before. He's not playing nearly well enough to help enough to where it would warrant him playing a lot. And if he can't be effective unless he's playing a lot, well, guess what? He's just not going to play a lot. And so it is what it is until January 15th. I mean, that's just the reality. All right, let's get back to the YouTube chat here. Dubs OT with JD. Let's get Daryl. Let's get Daryl Lightfoot. Daryl. Show out, Daryl. That's what I'm talking about. My boy Will Richard will be rewarded with a DNP for his efforts. No, he will not. No, he will not. And you are correct, sir. He never should have been out of the lineup because he's a rookie. He was playing too well. I agree with you 100%, Daryl. And I said it at the top of the show. It was a joke that Will Richard was out. It was a joke because his floor is higher than other players' floors on this Warriors team. He never should have been out of the rotation. There was some other stuff going on. I'm telling you, in the Warrior locker room, it's not an excuse. It's not a bailout of Steve, but they got a lot of stuff going on, internal things in the Warriors locker room right now, politics that I think have led to some of these decisions, as can be the case in a lot of locker rooms, especially early in the season. And it's on the Warriors over the next month and a half to clean that stuff up between now and February 5th and the trade deadline. But you are 100% correct, Daryl. You are 100%. And I agree with even the last part. He can't play Pat Spencer. Pat Spencer is the backup point guard. Play him on the ball, run pick and roll, or he can't play. Daryl, you're on point, my man. You are on point, 100%. You got to put him on the ball and let him run the show, pick and roll like he did in the games where everybody was out to be his most effective. Good comment. That's the early lead in the clubhouse for comment of the night right there by Daryl Lightfoot. Florida Dubs fan, turnovers down tonight tends to happen when Dre is out. Well, the turnovers weren't down tonight. Turnovers were about to nuke the entire game for the Warriors. They had 13 in the first half and allowed 16 points off of the 13 turnovers in the first half. I'm looking at the end of the night. The Warriors had 21 turnovers, but only 8 turnovers in the second half and only 8 points off turnovers in the second half. So they cut them down in the second half. And again, as I always say, when you look at turnovers, you got to look at who was getting the turnovers. And tonight it was Steph Curry and Brandon Podziemski. Draymond only had 1 of the 21 tonight. So it was Steph 4, it was Podziemski 4, and that number is way too high for Podziemski, although he did have a good first half scoring with 11 points. And so, yeah, I think you have to look at it from that type of a lens. But Draymond's got to just wear it tonight. Let's continue forward here. Sean Society. We need to see more Steph and Jimmy two-man action. That was nearly unstoppable in the second half. 100% agree, Sean. 100% agree. It comes down to the simplification sensation. And it is you ride with your best players, and I think between December 20 and Jan 20, the Warriors have to ride with their best players, and they have to simplify it until they can fix the rest of the roster and make everything fit. And that means you need I agree with you completely. Steph and Jimmy run the show, play the two-man game, whatever it's got to be, and then you let everybody else get theirs off of that. But what it's going to lead to more often than not is one of those two guys ending up taking the shot. More minutes with those two on the floor together, even though they have to be staggered, and more minutes with those two playing the two-man game. That excellent comment, Sean. Appreciate you, brother, for chiming in here. John J. 7512. Man, by the way, I hate this. I hate the YouTube. John J. Let's just can we go back? YouTube. Hey, YouTube, can we go back to the way we used to do it? Give me my guy John J. Give me the names, man. I don't need the official URLs. Give me the freaking names. Oh, almost slipped. Almost lost the license there. Green doesn't even defend well enough anymore to make up for the turnovers. He has a few good games against high-profile opponents here and there. He gets cooked more often than not now. I don't know if it's more often than not, but it's more than he used to be. That's where I'll leave it on that note. But he does still have the high-profile Wemby nights. I think it's a motor issue and an age issue, but I think it's a motor issue with Draymond. Can't do it every night. Picks and chooses the nights where he really wants to do it, and then is capable of doing it less than he used to be capable of doing it before. John J., appreciate you chiming in here. Bees Knees, JD, please tell me Melton will not be this as all season. I hope not. He's got to score. He's I'm telling you, go back. He's doing everything else well, but he can't be a complete non-existent player in terms of offense. And you look at Melton tonight, 0 for 5, 0 for 4, plus 7. D'Anthony Melton, 0 for 5, 0 for 4 from 3, 5 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, plus 7. So winning player. It's like Kyle Chung. He's a winning player, but he can't make a shot. Shoot your shot, Kyle Chung. Shoot your shot.
Kyle Chung definitely going 0 for 4, by the way.
He's definitely going 0 for 4, but then you look up and he's plus 7. Shoot your shot. But you gotta score. You gotta score. Like when all the producers are out for the impromptu holiday party, you gotta shoot your shot. You gotta knock your shot down. Were you in attendance, by the way, Kyle? I couldn't make it last night. Were you in attendance at the impromptu?
I was not.
The sports leader holiday party?
I was not. I was actually here until 11.
Look at you.
Until 11.
Look at you.
Putting in the hours.
Look at you. Kyle, you've done way too much to take that one for the team.
Oh, to be fair, I did forget to ask Tim for can someone else do that Friday? Kind of forgot.
Who wants to work? I got to let everybody in the chat behind the scenes here on that. And Kyle, so there's the impromptu Dubs OT. Well, no, I'm sorry. I was looking at something else. Eddie was sending me a text. There was the impromptu KNBR producer holiday party, right? Organized by Jordan. And so, it's a night. And look, everybody gets the invite. I couldn't make it, but it was Jordan Pertari put it together, and it was, it's Kyle Haar, and it's Derek Papa, and it's Greg Silver, and it's young Tony, and it's everybody. Cole LaPelt, it's everybody. It's all the folks behind the scenes, And Kyle's like, yeah, I'm tapping out on it. Come on, Kyle. Really? I'm surprised at you. Look at you taking one for the team. I want to applaud it. Kyle's like, I want to get that money. Kyle's like, I want to get that paper. I'll drink another night.
To be fair, I was out. I was out a while. And with the Warriors only playing like 2 games in the last like 2 weeks.
I was like, I
kind of need to put in some hours right now.
Let's go. Yeah, all right, let's go. That's right. Yeah, Kyle been spending too much time in Honolulu over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, it was basically it was a young Bucks party. It was a young Bucks party. That's exactly right. And keep 100%. Joe Schmo, Robert Brown, Kyle keeping KNBR afloat. Literally keeping the lights open. Lights on. The doors open.
Yeah, there wasn't a gas light like lamp that I had to manually ignite with a match or something.
No, but we're doing that tonight here at Harmonic. Let me tell you. We are doing it tonight here at Harmonic. It is awesome, by the way. This is some of Eddie's like personal camping gear, the owner. This is awesome. Like these are phenomenal. Like these little
honestly
table
the
lamps.
lighting looks good.
I might want to buy one of these from Eddie. Like Eddie, let's go. Anyway. All right. I digress. It's the beautiful, beautiful output here tonight from Harmonic in Thrive City. Power's out all over the city, but the power does not go out on Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader, especially on a Saturday night before a red eye to Indianapolis, by the way.
You can quote
not
that
tonight,
too.
Though. Not tonight. Not tonight, though. Maybe we should do that. Kyle. Man, Steve was in his bag post-game. All right, let's keep it rolling in the chat. Let's get back to basketball. Let's rein it in. Alpha Nickelberry, JD Will Richard needs to be a fixture in the lineup. 100%. No excuses. Will Richard must be in the lineup. And yes, Joe Schmo, we do need a live feed of the KNBR holiday party next year. I agree with that. Live stream. We're going to live stream it from like Cope's phone. Live stream from Cope's cell phone next year on the Sports Leader. Good comment. Thanks, Alpha. Joke's on you, JD. Will Richard, he should have never come out. Moody backs him up. That's the play. I agree with you. I think Steve's going to keep Moody in the starting lineup because they won tonight, and Steve is hell-bent on having consistency in the starting lineup. But Will Richard needs to be in the rotation, and Will Richard needs to make sure that he's getting minutes. He ended up with only 19 tonight. If I told you, Kyle, that Will Richard only played 19 minutes tonight, would you believe me? Because it felt like 28.
Oh, no. I mean, I was just going to say that. Yeah, it felt like he was making his impact throughout the game, you know.
It did. He packed 28 minutes of impact into his 19 minutes. It's kind of like we pack 4 hours a show into about 90 minutes to 2 hours every single night. That's basically how I'm rolling with it. Estimated Eyes, have a great night. Appreciate you for tuning in. As our count is about to dip here because Estimated's got to go to bed at 9:30 on a Saturday, and I'm playing. See y'all coming up here. Estimated. Thank you so much. And by the way, I do want to make sure and let everybody know, and because we are in Niner season, we are not going to have a Dubs OT show on Monday night. We are going to come back strong on Christmas. Maybe Kyle and I will record something. Maybe we'll record something after the Niner post game. Maybe like a little 30-minute video pod. Although it's going to be like 2 a.m. in Indianapolis, which is where I'm going to be. So we may do that, but I don't know. What do you say? Do we want to go? Do we want to go live? It would have to be very late. It would be like 11 o'clock Pacific if we did it.
Yeah.
On Monday night.
Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of thinking here because I think our post-game show will end at like 10:30 p.m. Pacific here.
Roughly.
So that works. I mean,
Maybe.
whenever our post game show ends, yeah, I'm down. I mean, I'll be here.
Yeah, so we're going to do that. And I'm on, obviously, with Copes on pre- and post-game for the Niners on Monday, and I'll be in Indy. And so it's going to be late. I'm going to spend less than 24 hours in Indianapolis. I'm going to be there for 23 hours and 35 minutes. Red-eye tomorrow night, going to land at about 6:10 in the morning on Monday morning in Indy. And I'm going to be on the flight back because it's the holiday season and I want to get back 5:35 Eastern on Tuesday morning. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, I think you're on that Santa schedule, like
I'm on the Santa schedule.
24-hour crossing through time zones, delivering presents.
No, and Bee's Knees, I appreciate it. Bee's Knees says, you're the only reason I mess with the leader. Well, that's on, I'm not going to condone that comment, but I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching and listening. But yeah, we'll try and cook something up Monday, but it is going to be, I mean, it might just be a complete JD all-nighter if we do something, but it's going to have to be late because the Dubs game's going to end and we're going to be on the air still with 49er post game. So because the Niner game's going to end at about 8:15. And then we're going to be on probably till about 10:30, and the Warrior game's going to end at like 9:30. So it might have to be an hour later. Again, we'll figure it out. If not, we might do a short podcast. But we're going to be back on Christmas from Harmonic here on the Sports Leader. All right, JC Mack. They've been playing better with Draymond all season. The 2 road wins are without him. You do get credit for. They've been able. There's a difference between being able to win without somebody and playing better without them. Look at the splits, and I don't have the updated number tonight, but look at the splits, Draymond on the floor versus off the floor in terms of the Warriors' defense. I just think it has to be a little bit of a less is more thing with Draymond in terms of maximizing the things he does well and him limiting the mistakes. And the turnovers and the sloppiness and that kind of stuff. So they've been able to win without him. I wouldn't mistake that for better without him because we're talking about a relatively small sample size. All right, let's keep it rolling. Let's do 5 more rapid fire. We're going to go 5 rapid fire. We're going to take a timeout. We're going to do Sounds of Dubs OT. And we're going to go all the way to 10 o'clock. I wasn't sure technically we were going to be able to make it here on Dubs OT, but we are. Eddie's given us the green light to go till 10 o'clock. So we're going to do it here on Dubs OT. Will is inconsistent as well, but he does other things. He should get more minutes. He is, but again, Gene, I'm going to say it. And his floor is not as crushing and debilitating as the floor of other players when they're not playing well. All right, next up. We the champs, babe. Kerr's talent is ripping confidence in his legit young players. TJD, Will, Pat, Gee. Gee's a high-energy guy. Pat's kind of still flash in the pan. Will, we don't know because we haven't seen him a lot. And, I mean, let's be honest, TJD wouldn't be playing if other guys were healthy and available. So I'm going to agree with you on Will. I like Pat and Gee in small doses. And look, TJD's playing because you got to play somebody if you don't have Draymond and you don't have others. Moving forward, Diggum. Can anyone explain why Pods gets into the paint and won't shoot? Oh, I can explain that. Because he doesn't have any confidence he's going to make it. I mean, seriously. Kyle's laughing his ass off like I'm being cheeky, but it's like it's not that. It's he doesn't have confidence he can hit the shot. And I think he's been told if you can't get it all the way to the rim and it's not a 3, the better play is to kick it out and to keep the ball moving and to try to go for a 3. But that's the explanation. I think Pods actually needs to live in the mid-range a little bit more and a little bit more confidently. I think he needs to take some of those mid-range shots rather than turn it over or launch a grenade to somebody on the perimeter with the shot clock running down. All right, two more. E and J, Kerr owes it to the team to play the best players, not to the vets. Wholeheartedly agree. And tonight is a complete and full-fledged indicator of that. And I think we're going to see a little bit of a change with Steve Kerr moving forward. How long is it going to last? Well, how many games do the Warriors win? I think Kerr is going to change his tune. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to be here every night. I will openly admit if I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be the best players are going to play. Agendas and politics be damned moving forward here for the next month. But if they don't win, it's going to be hard for him to continue to do it. He does owe the team to play the best players, as any coach does. The Boz 79, Kerr hates it when other players overshadow his favorites and play better than his favorites. I don't see how Pods gets 30 minutes. Spencer, Gee, Richard are all better than Pods. Spencer is not better than Pods. Gee is not better than Pods. Richard is not better than Pods. That's just reality. But and Steve Kerr loves Will Richard. Steve Kerr is one of Steve Kerr's favorite players on the roster. All of those guys are actually among Steve Kerr's favorite players on the roster. Pods, Richard, Gee, and Pat Spencer are all among Steve Kerr's favorite players on the roster. So I actually disagree with that on that notion. Now, if you brought me some other players, Jonathan Kuminga, I might have had a little bit of a different conversation. But take the mid-range, Max. I don't care if it's dead in the NBA. So I think Podziemski could be elite in the mid-range. It's okay if you can make 65% of them. If you can make 65 to 70% of your mid-range consistently, you can do it. You can shoot that shot. Can Podziemski do that? Remains to be seen. But I actually believe in Podziemski's mid-range more than I believe in his three-point shot. And I believe in his mid-range more than I believe in his ability to go up and finish in the paint at this stage of his career. All right, great stuff there in the YouTube chat. We'll have more in our final installment of Kyle's Clicks coming up here on Dubs OT. Let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We're still rolling here at Harmonic. 808 KMBR, sounds of Dubs OT, fun with numbers, and we will call it a night. What a wild night. Bears come back and win. Warriors hold on for a win. And the power is out all over San Francisco on a stormy late December. And we're talking about it right here on the Sports Leader.
presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no balls.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, final segment, Sounds of Dubs OT from Harmonic in Thrive City, as the Warriors get the win 119-116 over the Phoenix Suns. They split the pair in the home and home with the Warriors taking on the Suns. Here's what we got here between now and the end of the night. We're going to get to our Sounds of Dubs OT. We're going to get to some text messages, and then we're going to go back to the YouTube chat. If you want to sneak in a call, you can. 808-KMBR, 415-808-5627. As the Warriors improve to 14-15, still an overall disappointment. But as I often say, better than the alternative. The Warriors have to figure out a way to win some games here before they can look to add or change their roster come January 15th. All right, let's hear two from Steve Kerr, two from Steph Curry tonight. And we heard the two from Kerr in long form earlier. We're going to split it up into two. Here first is Kerr on Draymond Green's ejection.
I thought it was weak. I mean, he was yelling at the refs, so he definitely deserved one. But then, he's walking to the bench and he yells something and second technical. I mean, we just saw a guy on their team literally punch Steph in the stomach and the other night, and premeditated, punches him in the stomach, no ejection for that. And then, 2 nights later, the refs got upset with, some words from Draymond. I totally disagreed. And that's why I got my check, because I was furious that they booted him out just like that so easily.
So that was Steve on Draymond. We talked about that earlier on in the show. Let's hear the second part of that after a question regarding Dillon Brooks and the hit on Stephen Curry's midsection going back to the end of the game on Thursday night. A blatantly dirty play by Dillon Brooks. Warriors got the flagrant free throws and the possession. Jimmy Butler hit a three. They had a shot to win the game late after it had been tied. But Steve was asked the follow-up question as to what he thought of that dirty play from Dillon Brooks.
Yeah. I mean, how can you not be upset? I mean, this is a guy who broke Gary's elbow in the playoffs, clotheslining him with one of the dirtiest plays I've ever seen. So it's not like there's not a track record there. And it's right there. They look at it. I don't know what the point of replay is if you're not going to kick a guy out for literally punching somebody. It's bizarre to me that he was not, first of all, ejected from that game and then suspended or fined. Nothing. So apparently you're now allowed, this is my take, you are now allowed to premeditate a punch of any shooter who's left, like defenseless. You can now take a swing at him and know you're just going to get a flagrant one. So I don't know, maybe we'll do that, but probably not.
Wow. So Steve Kerr going in on Dillon Brooks. Not surprising, given, even going back to the 22 playoffs and the foul that he laid on Gary Payton II that had GP out until the finals when GP was able to come back. Long-standing back and forth between the Warriors and Dillon Brooks. And if you remember, the Warriors were prepared to take Dillon Brooks on when Draymond Green was going to sign with Memphis. The reporting was that it was going to be a sign-and trade, and the Warriors were going to get Dillon Brooks back if Draymond ultimately was going to wind up leaving the Warriors after, what would that have been, 2023, to go sign with the Memphis Grizzlies. All right, let's move forward here. We said a couple from Kerr, a couple from Steph Curry. Here's what Steph had to say as to the impact of Draymond Green's ejection with the Warriors down 10 at the time.
Yeah, it's tough because we were energized at the beginning of the game knowing this is a good opportunity to bounce back. It was a weird, choppy, physical game in the first quarter and it spilled into the second. I think it woke us up because we knew without him, we were going to have to play even, tougher, dig deeper down the rotation. I think everybody was kind of on alert and try to have his back.
Yeah, so at that point, it did wake people up. And look, the Warriors had edge throughout the course of the game, but I think, you never know how it's going to manifest. And I think it did give the Warriors a little bit of a boost to keep fighting and keep pushing, because they felt, and it doesn't matter what I feel or Steve Kerr feels or us in the YouTube chat feel, it did have, if it gave the Warriors a little energy to keep fighting because they thought it was weak, then that can be enough to help a team. And then some of the mistakes, obviously, that have been plaguing Draymond of late, not being a part of the equation, also maybe help the Warriors, at least for one night. Again, I don't want to cast these wide-ranging, beliefs as to what, one night without Draymond means or doesn't mean. You're still better with Draymond. You still need Draymond. But for one night, and it's not the first night this season, then you look at it and, they were able to get the job done without him. All right, let's hear a second. Steph Curry talking about the next stretch of games here with 2 more at home, 3 on the road, and then a ton of home games to begin 2026.
It's important because it's the now. I think we've had a couple of those little windows where you can look at either a homestand or, 3 games in 12 days or something like that. However you frame it, it's, between now and All-Star break is kind of like the moving window of the season where you position yourself either on a run to, look ahead in the standings, or be in a more or even worse situation where you're looking behind you. So I think we understand that. We don't want to look too far ahead, though, and just focus on Orlando and what we need to do to beat that team. I like that idea of just taking it one game at a time because we don't have any other choice with the way that we've been playing.
Well, and the Orlando game's a big game. Orlando comes in as they currently sit at 16-12, and Orlando's a better team than the Warriors, point blank. Orlando is a better team than the Warriors right now. They won in Utah tonight but needed overtime to do it, so they will come in and play their next game against the Warriors on Monday night. And so the bottom line is that's going to be a first of a back-to-back for Orlando. They'll play in Portland on Tuesday night. So the Warriors don't get any rest advantage there, although coming from Utah's tough, and they did play the extra overtime period. But that's going to be a very difficult game. But they need to find a way to get that one and then get the Dallas game and then go on the road and get a couple out of the 3 that they're going to play in Toronto, Brooklyn, and Charlotte before they come back and things get real. With the home games to begin 2026. The time has to be now. The Warriors cannot wait for the changes to be made up and down the roster in an attempt to get this thing done. All right, that's our Sounds of Dubs OT here on The Sports Leader with JD. Let's get to more in the YouTube chat. Oh, before we do that, let's get one quick one in the YouTube, and I want to get a couple of text messages as well here. Let's get one. Our official Dr. P. Richard was finally set free from Alcatraz. Wow, that's a little cringe, Dr. P. Cringe or nah, Kyle? It's a little cringe, right? When you actually say it out loud. Alcatraz. I don't know. You like it? You can like it.
I like it. I like where he was going.
Okay.
I like where he was going.
All right. You know what? I stand corrected. We move toward the youth here. If the youth likes it, if the youth likes it, then it gets the nod here. Official Dr. P. So yeah, 530 agreeing with Dr. P. Will Richard needs to play starter minutes the rest of the season in the Warriors rotation. I don't know about starter minutes, but he could definitely play 20 to 25. 951, Will Richard is the new late draft star in the making. LFG, says the 951. Know your area codes, Kyle. Do you know where the 951 is?
I'm going to take a guess here. I'm gonna go Modesto.
Oh, Western Riverside County, so a little bit farther south.
Okay,
Than
way off.
951.
Way.
The 951. But we appreciate the sentiment there. Statement win for the Warriors, says the 618, to beat a good Phoenix opponent. They're back. 350. Dub Nation is all in on Will Richard and the fact that Draymond is cooked. Draymond is not cooked. 274, that's Wisconsin, by the way. 274 from Wisconsin. Dubs, new big three. Are you ready, Kyle? The Dubs' new big three. Curry, Jimmy, and Will Richard. They all go for 20 tonight as the Warriors get the win here. 8-3-1. Melton took a playoff and just let Booker go to the basket. That was actually an in-game. That was an in-game Dubs OT text. The Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. So we appreciate everyone there. All right, let's do about 5-6 minutes of comments from the YouTube chat, and then we'll get some fun with numbers, and we'll head on into a football Sunday with the Niners playing on Monday Night Football against Indianapolis. Douglas Mikes, the thing that Kerr learned from this game is that Will Richard should be DNP CD'd next game, and Buddy should play 48 minutes. That's not going to happen, Douglas Mikes. Will Richard is not going to unceremoniously find himself out of the Warriors rotation. I'm going to guarantee that now, and I'm going to be right here if it doesn't happen to be held accountable for it. Will Richard is going to be in the Warriors rotation moving forward because, again, there aren't any politics directly related to Will Richard. Steve Kerr freaking loves Will Richard. Like, Steve Kerr is not trying to keep Will Richard down. That I can unequivocally say is fact. That I know to be fact. It's some of the others on the Warriors roster that create these weird, if this guy has to play, this guy has to play. And if that guy has to play, then this guy can't play. And if those three have to play, then this guy can't play that position. That's the kind of thing that I'm talking about for the Warriors that has to get cleaned up here as they look to consolidate and make some moves. Rich Ray, can we trade Melton again for the last time this time? DeAnthony Melton's a winning player. Trust me on that. DeAnthony Melton cannot be a winning player for this Warriors team without scoring. He cannot be a goose egg in the scoring column for this Warriors team and expect to be a contributor as desperately as the Warriors want him to be a closing player. But he's not going anywhere. DeAnthony Melton's a good player and can be in a closing lineup. Lucky Trey 3, Buddy Hield should have been put into do Dylan dirty and get kicked out. That would have been some good minutes. I actually wondered if the Warriors were going to look to maybe lay something on Dylan tonight. It's not their style, although maybe they should do that.
Well,
Steve Kerr.
I mean, the thing I did like when Jimmy Butler, I think it was in the first quarter, just after he made a tough layup over Dylan Brooks, just threw the ball at Dylan Brooks, and the Suns on the court was like, "Where's the technical?"
Yes. No, the Warriors were on one tonight. The Warriors were on one tonight on that front. Like they were, and again, sometimes it can manifest itself in a less than positive way. But the Warriors were on one tonight as it related to that. And yeah, Jimmy was on one tonight. You want edgy Jimmy. Edgy Jimmy, when he's not edgy at your own franchise, is exactly the Jimmy you want. And I think you got that Jimmy in the final couple of months of the year. But yeah, Sean Society, appreciate you. Brooks needs I hope he gets the help he needs treatment. LOL. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Well said, Sean Society. Estimated eyes, is there a more hated Canadian than Dylan Brooks? I don't think so. We might have to ask our guy Danny in Vancouver that the next time that Danny calls in or comes down to Harmonic.
Danny in Vancouver is nothing like Dylan Brooks, by the way. Well, quite the opposite. Quite the opposite.
But Danny would know. I feel like if there was a more hated member. KM Johnson, I can't with Steph having more rebounds than everyone else. I can't. Shake my head. Hey, the Warriors kicked ass tonight rebounding the basketball. Let's give them credit for kicking ass tonight rebounding the basketball. I think that's where I choose to go with this. When you look at the overall, what was it, 45-32, I think it was? 49-34, the rebounding advantage. And yes, Steph, a cool 28, 10, and 6 for Steph Curry. TJD had 7 boards. Quentin Post had 4. It was a collective effort. Will Richard had 5, hustling around, getting rebounds. We the champs, babe. Dre is checked out. Remember, Adam Silver talked him out of retirement. I don't think Dre's checked out. I think Draymond is grappling with being an older player and maybe being less effective in ways that he's used to being effective as consistently, and he's trying to figure out the balance. I think that's where Draymond Green is at this stage. Barb's 30. JD, hello, and happy with a win, and I have faith in Kerr, not a blame, whatever, for your radio show. Anyway, take care. Great comment. Appreciate you, Barb's. Appreciate you checking in. Always, Barb's 30. You can have faith in Kerr. I actually have faith in Kerr. It's just a majority of the Warrior fans right now on the internets that don't have faith in Steve Kerr. Kerr didn't have to use all his challenges since Draymond wasn't there from EB here. Oh, my goodness. All right, let's move forward. Bennett Roth. Will Richard to Steve Kerr. You can take those DMPs and shove them. Yes, he did. And honestly, that's the one piece of power that a player has, is how do you handle being a DNP coach's decision when you get that next opportunity. And look, I don't want to crush him. He didn't play tonight. He was ill. But that's the one thing we've never seen Jonathan Kuminga do in his entire Warriors tenure, is when he gets DNPs, come back, stay ready so you don't have to get ready to be ready. We haven't seen that from we have seen it from somebody like Moses Moody as well. So you give Will Richard all the credit, because you know it had to piss him off that he had been taken out of the rotation seemingly for no reason. And he gets the opportunity tonight. And the only thing you can do is go out there, kick ass, and take names and tell the head coach, all right, I dare you, keep me out of the rotation now. And I don't think Steve Kerr's going to do it. So that's a major, major hat tip. As JM 3513, JK too cool for school. We don't have to put that one up. But yes, that's a fact. He is too cool for school. Juju Bug 34, this is where Pat belongs. Serious backup point guard minutes alongside Richard and Butler. He started next to Steph, was a dumb decision, wasn't ever going to work. I agree. And I said it that night, Juju Bug. I'm not sure if you were watching that particular show, but I said as much after the game. He should play with Jimmy, and they should run a lot of pick and roll with Pat on the court. And so I do think maybe a few more minutes on nights where he's playing well, but I think that's the way to go for Pat Spencer moving forward. All right, let's get a few more. All right, last one, and then the last one, or the actual last one?
Actual last one here.
All right, let's get to the comment of the night.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
Max Lopez, Kuminga has mono, should be back Jan 15. We don't know what he has. He has a case of cursitis. I don't know. It's gonna be traded-itis. Whatever it is, yeah. I think we've, for the most part, seen the last of JK, unless there's a window that opens for him to get back in based on other players being injured or other players' poor performance. And honestly, I don't think the Warriors can take other players' poor performance at this point. All right, that'll do it. Let's get, before we close things out, let's get to some fun with numbers tonight.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, Warriors get the win tonight, 119-116 over the Phoenix Suns as the Warriors get to within one game of 500, still one game under 500 for Golden State on the season as the Warriors end their season-high tying three-game losing streak, so that's a good note. 8-4 at home. Warriors need to start winning at home, especially with all these home games coming up. Monday and Christmas, and then 11 of 12 to begin 2026 in January. 6th win this season after trailing by double digits. Warriors have not been out of games when they've been behind, but I think that's as much the nature of the NBA where everybody tends to come back. Warriors won a clutch game tonight, Kyle. They won a clutch game tonight. 16th clutch game. They're 6-10. That still must improve. Suns hung 44 on the Warriors in the first quarter, most by any opponent in any quarter this season, tying the Thunder's 44 in the third quarter in OKC back on November 11th when the Warriors got destroyed before all hell broke loose in the locker room postgame with Draymond and Jimmy calling everybody out. Warriors are 2-5 in games where they have 20 turnovers. That the Warriors were able to overcome tonight. They do not usually win when they get 20 turnovers. And the Warriors had another sellout tonight. We don't talk about this one every night, but it was the 577th consecutive sellout, which is the second longest active streak in the NBA. Warriors and the Magic Monday night, 7 p.m. And we'll be talking about it as we always do here on these Sports Leaders. Steph, first double-double with 28 and 10 boards, had 6 assists. Jimmy had 25, and Will Richard made his first 6 field goal attempts, all 4 of his three-point attempts, 3 with 20 or more for the Dubs, led by Steph 28, Jimmy 25, and Will Richard with 20. All right, that's going to do it for us. Big thanks to Kyle Haar in our Daly City studios. Massive thanks to Eddie out here at Harmonic, and massive thanks out here to Mike out at Harmonic as well for keeping the lights on literally and allowing for us to do this show despite the power outage in the area. Unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff. And Bennett, I don't agree with you. Responding in the Minnesota series after getting DNPs, that when it doesn't translate to wins and it's without Steph, sorry, can't go with that. But yeah, that's the type of environment I think that Kuminga needs to play in. Who do we need to thank in studio?
Yeah, so we had Danny, actually a rare Danny cutting Warriors today. But
Danny Dunn?
Yeah, Dan Dunn.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible effort from Danny Dunn.
I think he was on standby this week because Walt is expecting a child soon, very soon.
Yeah. Any moment may have already happened.
Right,
we just don't know it yet.
Right, exactly.
Soon. As in may have already happened, but we don't have the pictures yet. Soon. So yeah, let's dig him. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to tell him who I said today they should trade for him if it comes down to it. I'm going to save that one, dig him. But if you heard it earlier, man, I couldn't believe I actually said it. But woof. That's all I'm going to say. All right, for Kyle and Danny and everybody in the chat, we're not gonna be live immediately following the game Monday because of the Niner game. We are going to be back on Christmas for sure. We'll try and record or go live maybe a little bit after. So stay tuned to the KNBR socials. Like and subscribe, obviously, the channel, and you'll get the notifications when we go live here on Dubs OT. We'll talk to you then. Warriors win at 119-116. Keep it locked right here at the Sports Leader. Emirates Cup or bust.
Oh, hell yeah.
First of all, you got to start off liking each other.
I'm super cereal.
Big fat dub.
Ain't nobody going to stop me.
I just wake up and I can shoot it no matter if I'm playing or not.
But great win.
Who are these guys?
I love you, JD. Bye, sugar.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
Jimmy freaking Butler puts it in.
Obviously, I'm shooting the ball well. It's pretty obvious.
Batman comes out of nowhere. You never see him coming, then he just fall from the sky, from a building, behind the door. Everything's gonna be